Good evening, everyone. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Carrie Linklater. I'm your chairperson tonight. I am joined on the board by Diane Knight and Richard Whitbread. Our city assessor is Mark Colatrulio, and our admin secretary is Belen Rojo. We will be hearing applications for a revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket tonight. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. If I could ask that everybody has their cell phone turned off. Good evening, Mr. Smith and Mr. Colatrulio. So we're going to start with
Mark Colatrulio.
649 Archibald.
I do. Trevor Smith.
And you swear the evidence about to present the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you back?
I do.
Thank you.
Whenever you are ready.
All right, file number 19-815. The applicant is Stevenson Advisors, Ltd. Roll number 0603095400. The address is 649 Archibald Street. The roll year under appeal is 2020 with an April 1st, 2018 reference date. The assessed value under appeal $992,000. Class code 60 and taxable. We have 2 building records and 2 premises for this property. The total land area is 6,912 square feet, and the plan area of 4,025 square feet. The total gross floor area of 4,575 square feet, and a leasable area of 4,025 square feet. I do have a recommendation on this file to reduce the 2020 assessment from $992,000 to $847,000 based on a reduction of the rental rates that were originally applied by the model. You'll see on page 2, both requests for income information were received by the city within the appropriate time frame. The last sale on file is in 2003, quite some time ago, so not very relevant for today's discussions. If you flip to page 6, you'll see a map view of the subject property as well as an aerial photo. And if you look at page 7, you'll see some street view photos of the property. Page 4 shows the income workup for the subject property. We have, again, a total leasable area of 4,025 square feet. The rental range varies between the two premises, $16.58 on the smaller premise and $16 on the larger premise. The potential rent there is $65,159, 6% vacancy loss applied, 2% non-recoverable expense allowance and shortfall at $650 a square foot to arrive at a net operating income of $58,454. The cap rate that is applied is 6.90 for a total capitalized and rounded value at $847,000. If you flip to page 3, you'll see the rent comparables that I used for this particular property. They range between $14 and $23 a square foot. The model again applying $16 and $16.58, so well within the range that we're seeing in the market for similar types of retail space. Page 8, you'll see the income and expense questionnaire as was submitted by the owners. Sorry, it kind of printed funny on page 9. It looks like it compressed both of them there. But it looks like they're on a month-to-month lease. $1,200 a month is what it's showing on the income and expense questionnaire. Page 11, you'll see some cap rate information. There isn't a category here for retail stores that we're dealing with today, so I won't really cover anything on here. And page 12 is just some excerpts from the Municipal Assessment Act. The addenda includes some information in regards to the 2020 reassessment and some additional cap rate information and some information in regards to the non-recoverable expense sampling that we did. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, are you accepting the recommendation?
No, we're not.
Okay. Questions of the assessor?
Just very briefly. So I was looking at page number 4 with the new workup on it. So we've got it broken down into the two sections there with the different rate applied to the two. If they were combined into a single 4,025, that would change the rental rate that would be applied by the model, would it not?
Correct.
Okay. And effectively it is one unit. It's not two individual buildings. It's operated, they're adjoined, you access one through the other, etc., right?
I believe so, yeah.
Would it be fair to assume that it should be treated as 4,000 square feet rather than the two units?
I wouldn't say that that's unreasonable, no.
Okay. Just briefly, very briefly looking at page number 3 in the rental comparables, as obviously rental rate is in contention here, so the first rental comparable, 249 St. Mary's Road A, that's either the Subway or the Snap Fitness located right by the Red Top.
Correct.
On St. Mary's. So that'd be a more recent building, higher ceilings, better frontage or visibility, would it not?
It certainly, just give me one moment. Certainly appears that the overall year built or the effective year built is newer for one portion of the building. The problem here is we have two buildings, one is older, one is newer. So it's kind of a mix mash in regards to the effective age.
Right. Okay. 245 Marion, the second one, that I believe is occupied by the dog loft, is that correct?
Correct.
So it's in that stretch of Marion between the bridge and well before Archibald?
Correct.
Okay. 1321 Archibald, that's located at the corner of Fermor and Archibald. It's the cash money location.
Correct.
Is that correct? So much smaller square footage, better location, driving a higher rent. Sorry, that it's hard to phrase these as questions, so don't take it the wrong way. 17 St. Mary's Road, the fourth one, that is office space that's located just over the bridge from downtown as you head south on Main Street. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the last one is in that main commercial section of Marion Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The only other question I have is my standard rebuttal evidence. I do not want to speak to it if I don't need to, as I know certainly two of you have heard more than enough about it, and I'm sure you have as well this night. I may just submit it into evidence and leave it at that, if that's fair, so that it's addressed.
Yep, that's up to you.
I think we may be in agreement in order to be efficient that we'll treat it in that manner.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Unless
submit
there's,
Can we
unless-
just finish at, asking the assessor questions though?
Certainly, those are all
Otherwise
my
we get
questions.
so out of order, and
Thank you very much.
thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Whitbread,
No
questions of the assessor?
No, we're fine.
Ms. Knight?
If you were to treat it as a 4,000 square foot one unit, what would your square foot average cost be?
Like the rent that's
Yeah.
applied? It's hard to say, it's modeled, right? Typically, you would see larger units have a, the larger the unit, the lower the rental rate. Yeah, and typically the smaller the unit, the higher the rental rate. That's how the model would adjust it. So there would be a little bit of a downward adjustment. As for the exact rate, it's hard for me to tell you.
That's all for me. So, did you have a chance to inspect this property?
I did not, unfortunately.
Okay. Can you tell me the last time it was inspected by the city?
I don't have that information with me.
Okay. So, two separate buildings, correct?
Yes.
So, one has 1938.
Yeah, so that would be the actual year built?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's got an effective of 2005.
So that's the addition that was put on in 2005.
So are we to assume then the 38, do you know the square footage on that?
No, I can't tell you based on what's in front of me.
Okay. Can you speak to the condition?
From looking at the exterior, I mean, obviously I haven't inspected the inside of the property. The exterior looks pretty average. If I had to call the condition anything, I would probably call it average.
Okay. But you're just assuming that on page 7 from your street Google?
Correct.
And your cap rate, it's all modeled, page 4, 6.9.
Yeah, that's a model cap rate.
So, so forgive me, but you're saying that page 11 with your cap rate study, it's, I think you said it's not on here at all?
Yeah, so certain categories aren't shown on the table. Things like restaurants and retail stores aren't shown on there. Typically when you're looking at cap rate publications from third-party companies, they don't really show that information either. But it's a similar process. We basically look between the 20th and 80th percentile, and in that range is kind of where the cap rates are modeled from.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes. Did you want the rebuttal evidence at this point or at the end, or?
You can do it at the end if you want to give us your presentation.
Certainly.
first.
Okay, so 649 Archibald Street. This is an owner-occupied property owned by the individuals mentioned on the brief there, the Peters family. It is two buildings that have been adjoined. One was originally built in 1938. If you look at the cover photo, the photo on the right, or the building on the right-hand side, is the older property built in 1938. It's 1,309 square feet, has a 10-foot wall height, and my understanding was that it was a long-term Chinese food restaurant in St. Boniface that was there for decades, is my understanding, prior to acquisition by the present owners. They own and operate their fireplace business out of this facility. They did build the addition onto it, so it functions as one unit. It's all adjoined, and there is passageway between the two. It's open between one side and the other, essentially. So in effect, it is one building, not two. So it's 4,025 square feet. Page number 1 of my brief gives you a bit of background. It's zone C2. you can see the sizes of the two different units, and we have 4,025 square feet. It's street front retail, there's no parking associated with it, other than on the front street when you're able during certain hours, or on the side street adjacent to it. So you do not have that parking amenity for the property. Looking at the photos of the property, we begin on page 2, a couple of exteriors. Fairly standard from the outside. Obviously the original building built in 38. That is the age of the structure, so the structure obviously is, there is some waviness to the floors, etc., and all the other issues that go along with that. The build out is below average, I would say. If you look at the finishing inside, the carpeting, etc., the older tile flooring, etc., this would not be a standard retail build-out in this day and age. What the owner has done, obviously, is they've displayed their product, that being fireplaces, so they've built the fireplaces into built-ins in the front area. The office is below average in terms of build-out, and then in the rear of the space you have delivery and storage area, as you can see at the back there. Very low ceiling at 10 feet and 9 feet is the ceiling height for the two properties. Moving on to property location on page number 6. If you look at the red dot, that indicates where 649 Archibald is. So it's located on the west side of Archibald, just south of the Marion Street intersection. So on the other side of the road you would have Tim Hortons and the Co-op Gas Bar, if you've been in that location. This is not a retail strip. There's one or two community type stores that are adjacent to this. That's really it. Other than that, it's residential or multifamily. There's a curling club there and a school, Archwood School, a bit down the way, but it's really not a commercial retail location. Certainly not comparable to the Marion Street and or Provencher, things of that nature, where it's all built out with commercial. This is very isolated in a non-standard location. Let's move on to the valuation itself, page number 9. Obviously owner occupied, so there's no rent in place. Keeping in mind the date of the structure, location, size, the layout, obviously we've got two buildings that are adjoined. There is passageway between them, but there is a wall down the center. It's open in the front and the back. Again, non-standard layout. So the rental rates that we're providing on this page are commercial and retail rental rates in the city. We try to keep them in the same size range and as recent as possible. Most of these will be considerably better located than the subject. And you can see the age range of the structures themselves, the start date of the leases, the term, and the use. So we're looking at locations. 1271 Jefferson is a grocery anchored community shopping center up in the Maples area. Autumnwood similarly is a retail location in Southeast. Gateway, Roblin, Cavalier is a community shopping center, grocery anchored again. We have Pembina Highway, Gateway Academy. You get the general gist. We're looking at main commercial corridors here. The rental rates that we're looking at are in that $12 to $15 at the upper end range. The upper end of that, in fact, all of these would represent typically better locations than the subject property with regard to commercial location. Both from access, visibility, there's all kinds of reasons to go into that. The size range, Many of them are in that lower 1,900 square foot plus range or 1,000 plus range. Obviously, smaller units tend to drive higher rents. They're still in that 12 to 15 range. So looking at the subject property, I'll move on to page number 10 very briefly. This chart here represents 353 Provencher. It's a nearby strip retail center, again on Provencher. It is a bit of a challenged center, so it has some lower lease rates. You can see that their net rental rates, once they're brought down, are generally $10 and under, so call it $6 to $10 roughly for that location. There's 2 net leases at $14 a square foot for the end caps on that property. Looking at the subject, we believe that a rental rate of $12 a square foot is more than adequate to cover a fair rental rate for it. That's certainly the upper end of what I would put on it. Our commercial brokerage that is part of the company that I work for is Cushman Wakefield. It's one of the largest brokerages, commercial brokerages in Winnipeg. It's international in scope. Our retail team is excellent. I discussed this property with them and the city information, and they said, frankly, you can rent 5,000 square feet at Kenaston and McGilvery for between $16 and $18 in the present day. So that just gives you a bit of an indication. And they do an awful lot of retail leasing. Moving on to the expense side, page 11, we accept a vacancy rate of 6%. Our panel members have heard more than enough in the past with regard to the non-recoverable issue, so you have the information on that unless you wish to hear it from me again.
No,
I'm happy to move on beyond that. Suffice to say, we're looking for the reinstitution of the 5% as well as the 2% non-recoverable allowances. Our shortfall allowance is the same as the city, and we can look at cap rate on page number 13. So cap rates that I provide here on page 13 are transactions of investment grade retail or retail properties in the city of Winnipeg. They're in that 2015 to 2018 timeframe, generally better located than the subject. Osborne and Stradbrook, right in the village. Gateway was a decently located retail strip. Osborne is right on South Osborne. And we have 2 on McPhillips. Cap rates are in that 7 to 7.5 range, dominantly with 1 higher. The subject would certainly fall at the upper end of that, being street front retail, no on-site parking, low visibility, no signage, et cetera, The cap rate of 7.5 is the lowest that I would see for properties such as that. So all told, that gives us our final market value of $542,000. And the addendum materials simply include supportive decisions with regard to the non-recoverables, I believe. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Questions?
I do have some questions. I also have a rebuttal that I'll probably enter as well and not really speak to, but I'll give it to you guys so you have it on hand.
Excuse me, is the rebuttal on the 5%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just so you have full sets of rebuttal documents. But in regards to questions, you said that there's no parking on site. They can park behind the building, or is that, am I seeing that wrong?
There are a couple of stalls there, but again, there's maybe 4, 2 or 3 of those would be taken up by the occupants themselves.
So it's more just limited parking, right, on site?
Very limited, yes.
Yeah. And then on your mailer in your addenda, just on this page here where it shows the rent roll, that company that they're listing there, like the tenant name that they've listed, that is the owner? Is that?
It is the owner's
Yeah.
company, yes.
Yeah. Perfect. No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Whitmer?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Questions?
No questions from me.
Did you have a chance to inspect the property?
I did inspect the property, yes. The photos are mine.
That's all my questions.
Thank you very much.
Um,
The rebuttal document,
Yeah.
right? Thank you.
You guys want 5 or 1?
Thanks.
Oh, you're marking.
And we are going to move on to 394 St. Anse Road.
You have the option to swear on the Bible or to affirm without it. On the Bible? Please state your full name, and you swear the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Thank you. There were also photographs included with her evidence for this property. There was only one set. Do you want me to have continue sets with those?
Okay.
I was just going to say, good evening, Mrs. Ducharme.
Yes, I whatever I had to say, I gave you a copy of all
Yes, we
I
know it.
And I do believe it, that is way too high for the buildings that I've been looking at it. And,
Yes, sorry.
And a way better condition.
Yes, the city assessor starts first.
Okay, I'm
So,
sorry.
no worries, thank you.
Thank you.
Whenever you are ready.
File number 19-573. The roll number is 0800-274-6400. The address is 394 St. Anse. The roll year under appeal 2020, with the April 1st, 2018 reference date, the assessed value under appeal $254,000, class code 60 and taxable. We have 2 building records on file, which is maybe from an addition on the property, but it is just one building in my eyes. One premise, 1 story, actual year built 1947, with an effective year built 1975. The land area 5,668 square feet, and the plan area of 1,440. That's actually doubled up, and that's part of, we would have a basement record. I'm not too sure actually as to why it's doubling. Sometimes it's because of a basement, but it looks like we have the basement area doubled up as well. The square footage there is 720 square feet, so just maybe mark that as. And the leasable area is 720 square feet. We do have a recommendation here. So the original value went out based on an income approach. What I did was I looked at some comparable sales of similar types of houses along St. Anse Road, built around the same time, same level of finish for lots of these. You'll see that information on page 2. So 371 St. Anse Road, sold in February of 2018, sold for $235,000. There the square footage is 624. for a price per square foot of $376.60. Then we have 72 St. Anse Road, built in 1945, sold in mid-2017 for $223,000. The square footage there, 756, for a price per square foot of $294.97. And then we have a little bit of an older sale, 41 St. Anse Road, built 1948, sold in August of 2014 for $245,000, and there it's 840 square feet. The price per square foot there is $291.67. The average being $321.08. The recommendation is based on an assessment per square foot of $310, and rounded at $223,000.
May I just interrupt for a moment?
Yes.
Page 3, page 5, you're showing a 226.
Correct, yeah, this is, this shouldn't be showing, that, the original income workup is shown on page 4.
That's correct.
I did start a recommendation based on the income approach, but I did feel that it was more appropriate to switch into looking at sales for this type of property. So this is actually incorrect. This was a position that I was considering, but ultimately I decided on the lower 223 based on the comparable sales. So I probably should have deleted that out of the brief, and that's my apologies.
Okay, so we'll just disregard that.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair.
Page 6, you'll see just a map view. The subject property is located on St. Anse Road, at the corner of St. Anse and Poplarwood Ave. Page 7, you'll see an aerial photo, and page 8, you'll see some street view photos of the property. I did not have a chance to inspect this property, but I have driven by this property in the past. Page 9 is the income and expense information as submitted by the owners. And again, it's owner occupied, so we do have it. The expense information was filled out, so we're satisfied with that. And that is all for my presentation. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. Did you have any questions of the assessor of what he has just presented?
Yeah, did I hear you say that it has a basement?
No, I said it may have a basement. It may have a basement. Sometimes when you see the doubling like this, it's because there's a basement premise on file or a basement building on file in our system. That also might be why you see 2 buildings. But no, we're not valuing it based on there being a basement.
And Mrs. Ducharme, the assessor has offered another number of 223. And are you willing to accept that?
No, I wish that can be reduced because I don't believe that compared to all the properties around, they are in better condition, they are up to date, like I mentioned in my letter.
Yes.
And then, but yeah?
Sorry, he has reduced it. So it was originally 254,000. He's reduced it to 223,000.
And the condition of the building is, I prefer not to accept that because
Okay.
it needs a lot of work.
Okay, that's fine, we'll move forward. So did you have questions of the assessor?
Yes. You've seen all the buildings. They're in much better condition. Compared to my building needs a lot of work. I think at this moment that is way high assessed to. And the assessment at this moment at 223, is it 223? It's high.
Still think it's too high. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you asking if I've seen buildings in the same condition of the?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's a tough question. Because it's hard to know what building you're talking about, but there definitely are buildings that need work that are built in the 1940s for sure.
And it can be, those are up to date, even if they were born in 1930s, they are up to date. Mine, for circumstances of finance, haven't been able to up to date the building, and that needs a lot of repairs, as I mentioned in my letter.
Okay,
I
that will be part of your presentation. But right now, it's just questions to the assessor, and if you don't have any, that's fine.
What makes you assess this property at this value?
Yeah, so the main thing when I made my recommendation, again, just reviewing sales of similar houses, smaller houses built in the mid-40s kind of thing along St. Anse. I thought that the sales indicated a range there, the newest sale being a lot higher on a price per square foot basis than what I've applied, but considering the condition of the property, you know, I did settle with a below average. The average, if you look on page 2, was $321.08 a square foot. I opted for $310 a square foot.
Okay? Do you have more questions?
No, but she's not giving us some evidence.
Are you prepared to reduce the assessment on that?
Well, so the reduction that's there is what I'm prepared to
Yeah.
reduce it to, yeah. 223 is what I think.
Well, that's your final decision?
Yeah, that's my final position.
If I don't accept that, what do I have to do after that?
We will, the panel will ask questions of the assessor, and then you will give us your presentation on your property. And we're happy to proceed. Okay? Mr. Whitbread, do you have questions of the assessor?
Sure. So, you've come to this assessment, bear with me till we get to that point. On page 4, you came to an assessment of $254,000.
Yeah, so that's the
Let
original.
me just finish. And that was based on your model projecting from information that was fed into the model,
Correct.
correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, now you arrived at $223,000. What drove that thinking? I didn't hear you say that specifically.
Yeah, and that's a fair question to ask. So this property, it is built as a house. So it's not your standard retail space per se. And when you're looking at these properties, it can be difficult to do an income approach to valuation that, like the original value at $20 a square foot, to me, that's very high for similar space. But these properties wouldn't rent on a per square foot basis. They'd rent on a monthly basis. So you'd rent the whole house for a monthly amount. And just like you wouldn't rent it on a per square foot basis, you wouldn't really value it per se that way. And so when I was looking at the reductions, obviously, what does this type of property sell for in the market? And that's where I kind of was led to the sales of properties along St. Anse, similar in age.
These comparables.
That's correct, yeah.
Drove you to that.
Correct, yeah.
And so you were able to override the model.
Correct.
To come to the 223,000. And having seen the condition of the property, you're still satisfied with that 223, are you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Well, I think I've got an understanding.
Go ahead.
Did you drive by the other 3 properties that you're comparing them to?
Yeah, I mean, I've driven down St. Anse,
Okay.
I've seen these properties, I did review them again on the street view to make sure I knew exactly what I was looking at, but yeah, I've seen these properties.
And you think they're in the same condition as the current property roughly?
Yeah, it's hard to say, on the exterior,
I'm talking exterior, because you only drove by.
right, yeah, I would say they're all pretty average in regards to the level of finish.
Okay, so, page 2. Is there sales? Do you have the MLS listings with you?
I don't, unfortunately. I don't. The only information you see in my brief in regards to this sales is in this table.
Okay. And these are all businesses contained in these homes?
No, as far as I know, these are residential homes.
Okay, that's all my questions.
Thank you.
If you would like to give us your presentation about your house. No, she has to be sworn in.
What if she was?
As I already told you, this house is in very bad shape and needs repair. Expensive repair, especially the outside, the roof, windows, and the sign. And in order to do that, if they increase my taxes substantially, then how am I gonna repair the house? How am I gonna repair the building? Then in that condition, I can't rent. I have to stay there and see the best I can to at least do the roof in the spring, because it needs a new roof badly.
Okay. Anything else?
And the inside needs also remodeling. Needs sinks, needs new fixtures, new lights, and painting. And no basement, no basement.
Okay. Thank you. Did you have questions?
No questions, thank
No
you.
questions, Mr. Whitwright?
No, thank you.
No questions from the
Okay. Do you have an estimate of any of these repairs?
Any repairs?
Do you have an estimate?
I do not have estimates per se by a contractor, but as the contracts today, roofing, you look at about approximately $7,000 to $9,000 in repairing the sign that is on top of the roof. The windows, I look at it between 30,000, 35,000.
Do you know the age of your windows now, currently? Have you had them
They're
replaced?
about 17 years old.
Okay.
Can I read back to the assessor? I
Sure.
forgot a question. Do you have any idea what drove the date built to the effective date from 47 to 75?
No, I didn't do any work with the effective age.
So there was no
hard to-
permits.
Yeah, not that I could see anything, obviously, at some point they would have converted the space from a regular house layout into the hair salon that it is now, but beyond that, I can't see anything extensive that was done there.
May I just ask one more
Yes.
question here? Do you remember when you converted the house, the building from a house to a business?
1987.
87? Did you do some work at that time on the building itself, on the interior, to change the interior?
Okay. When I purchased that house, that was condemned. So I did a lot of work and then clean up the underneath, because it's a crawl space. So everything was going to the crawl space. And new electrical, because was required by the city of Winnipeg. Because, and needed, because was wires all over in the outside like that. Yes, and new ceiling.
So you did some remodeling then?
Yes, I
Do
did
you-
at that time.
Do you currently live in the house and do your business there?
No,
No, so you just go there to do your business?
yeah.
Okay, thank you, that's enough questions for me.
Thank you. So you've remodeled when you purchased the home in 1987?
Yes,
Okay. And the remodeling, you said the property had been condemned?
yeah,
So you did some interior work at that time, 1987, 35 years ago or so. So what did you do when you did the work inside?
first of all, I cut the trees, because there was a lot of trees and bushes in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the windows definitely, they were wood and absolutely no good at all. And the attic, people had lived in the attic, and it had all that, the attic, the ceiling had to come out and change the insulation. And then new drywall, new insulation. Painting, and then we changed that, had to open the kitchen, we had to put a beam to support, to open to, for a waiting room.
Okay. And what is the condition of the basement?
There's no basement.
Crawl space. Oh, it's crawl space. Okay. Thank you. What was the previous assessment?
I don't have it with me. I couldn't tell you.
Do you know what your previous assessment was?
No, I didn't have with me, but I know I had paid to come and I paid my fees. But unfortunately at that time I was very, very ill, and I totally skipped my mind. I didn't come to the meeting.
Okay. That's fine. Just leave it with us, and we'll get our decision in a couple of weeks. Thank you. Sir, are you here for 3224 Portage?
I am.
Would you like to start?
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
You do.
What property is this, Karen?
I'm sorry, the last one, 3224 Portage.
Please state your full name,
My full name is Mike Marcusa.
and you swear that the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Whenever you are ready.
So file number 19-441, the applicant is M&E Holdings Limited, and the roll number is 0756-066-0000. The address is 3224 Portage Avenue. The roll year under appeal is 2020 with an April 1st, 2018 reference date. The assessed value under appeal $374,000, class code 60 and taxable. We have one building on record for this property with one premise, actual year built of 1963 with no effective age. It's a C2 zoned property. The land area there, 6,564 square feet. The plan area of the building, 936 square feet, and 936 square feet of leasable area on file for this property. I do have a recommendation to reduce the assessment. So in this instance, the assessment went out at land value. So the income approach was not utilized for this property. But I did, upon reviewing the modeled land value rate and looking at some sales, and if you flip to page 3, you'll see some of the vacant land comparables that I looked at. These are bigger parcels of land, but located along Portage Avenue. And the range there is between $37.31 and $43.96. The recommendation is based on the 2018 assessment, maintaining the 2018 assessment, and the land rate that was used in 2018 was $46.47. So you'll see that it is slightly higher than the range that's shown for the vacant land comparables, but there is some economies of scale that I consider, and I felt that the $46 wasn't unreasonable for that type of land on Portage Avenue. You'll see on page 2 that the property sold on October 6th of 2014 for $287,000 and $287,500. But I did speak with the applicant prior to the hearing, and he did tell me that there was some other items included in that sale price. So keep that in mind when you're reviewing the brief. And I'm sure the applicant can speak more to the sale. Page 4, you'll see the map view of the property. Property is located in between Shelley Street and Kirkfield on Portage Avenue. Directly on Portage Avenue. Page 5, you'll see the street view. This business is no longer operating out of the property, so it is vacant, I believe. It is vacant. Page 6, you'll see the income and expense information that was submitted by the owner. So we're satisfied, even though it was, I believe, owner occupied prior to this. The expense information's there, so we're satisfied with the response to the mailer. And that is all for my presentation. I think the 305 is fair and reasonable for this type of property based on looking at some land sales.
Okay, thank you. Are you accepting the recommendation, sir?
No, I'm not accepting the recommendation. I still think it's quite high.
Okay. Did you have any questions of the assessor on what he's just presented?
First time at this one, so. I guess the question I'm gonna have is the comparisons that you used were more than triple the size of the lot that I have. Would that, in essence, make a large difference in the available price for the land?
It could. I did try to find smaller properties that sold, like smaller parcels of land that sold on Portage, but land sales are few and far between. There isn't really any smaller pieces of land along Portage that sold. I did look at some other land sales. I don't have that information in my brief, and it's actually after I spoke with you on the phone, I thought maybe I should look at some other land sales to see. It definitely may have an effect on the land value, but I wasn't seeing it as low as your brief would suggest. So upon reviewing everything, I still felt the 4647 was fair.
And so if we were to look at it in your model under a rental income, what would the assessed value be as for a rental income of $1,200 a month?
I don't have any of that information with me, so we didn't value this one on an income approach. This one was just done on the land value.
Okay. And did you view the building or go into the building at all?
I did not.
Okay. I think that's all I have for questions.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread.
So if I understand what you're saying then, if you had given a value to the building, we would see a higher assessment. Is that true? Just so I understand how this works.
No, I don't. I think it's actually the opposite. I think you would have seen a lower value if we went based on an income approach. Because the building is so small, I think there would be an argument that's made that it's not fully utilizing the building footprint is so small for the land that they occupy. You'd be better suited to have a larger building
Yes.
on that type of space. But because it's so small, if you were to do an income valuation using a market rent and market parameters, you'd probably get a lower value. But that's
kind
where,
of how I figured it, and I'm wondering.
that's where our model takes over. So if the income value that is generated is lower than the land value that generates, the land value takes over. And that's what we would send out as
So
as the value for the
even
property.
if you'd done the income approach and it had come out quite a bit lower, you would have still gone with the land value approach?
Correct, yeah.
All right, that's what I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
understand,
yeah.
given there is a building on the property. And I think it appears there's rent being generated based on the documentation you provided. $1,200 a month, if I saw that?
It's vacant now.
It's vacant currently.
Yeah.
We're looking for a tenant. So you.
Okay, so it's for rent, but it would have warranted a $1,200.
Yeah, like
Okay.
the mailer's from 2017, right? So they may have been in there in
Yep.
2017, but yeah, after I spoke with the owner, I could get the sense that it was vacant,
I
yeah.
understand why you approached it the
Yeah.
way you did. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So you're using 4647 per square foot?
Correct, yeah.
In your comparables though, they're all way less than that.
Well, they're slightly lower, yeah, but like I said, there's some economy of scale there, so typically the smaller you'd see for the square footage, the higher the rate would be. So I
just need to get it into my head as to why.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
So, again, yes, page 3. You know, I understand where you're coming from on the economies of scale, except you were comparing 42,000 square feet, 38,000 square feet, 33,000 square feet, 23,000 square feet to 6,500.
Correct, yeah.
And then you're valuing it up to, you know, $6, $8, $9 more per square foot.
Then the low range, yeah.
Correct. So you said you did look at smaller pieces of land, not on Portage?
Yeah.
You didn't bring it with you?
I don't have it with me, no.
Can you tell us where you were looking?
No, I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Do you remember how much they were per square foot?
I believe there was some up into this same kind of low end of the range that you're seeing. Some were lower, some were kind of in this same range. Yeah, I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Okay. So you would agree that having a property on Portage Avenue would be valuable?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you not agree that having a property on Portage Avenue with 28 to 42,000 square feet available is more valuable than 6,500?
Yeah, I would say the development potential is different between those two for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I
Yep.
redirect to the appellant? Appellant,
He hasn't presented yet.
sorry? I thought he had given us his
Yeah, no.
letter. Oh,
No.
I'm jumping. Sorry,
No worries.
I'll get there.
It's all starting to blend together as it used to.
No, I had it buried, I had it buried under the cities. Okay.
Sir, if you'd like to give us
I
your
would like to,
presentation?
now can I give you these copies and stuff here, or give them copies of letters and stuff like that, what I'm gonna go over? So, one of the things I did wanna bring up before the board here is that,
He didn't give it to us.
Okay, this is new evidence.
Sorry, let me just look at the file.
well, if it's just a letter that you have that's on file, that's fine too, I just brought some comparisons, notes and stuff for myself and what's going on here, but.
Yeah, it's just a letter that's on file, but the additional information is not included with the evidence exchange, so do you want to accept it?
I just brought some comparable information,
This is,
just real estate listing.
this is the use,
That's new, okay, this is what you have right now, we all have this one.
I have that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I will.
You'll accept
Yeah.
it? Not of the first one.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll just, Mr. Coltrillo, are you ready?
Yep.
Do you want to have a minute? No?
I can read through this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'd like to proceed.
Okay, I guess the reason for the appeal is the lot size in the area. It's very unique, as it being a very small commercial, size property. It is, like we said, 6,665 square feet or something like that. I tried to get a comparison for land values in the city of Winnipeg and what land values were selling for. I have just purchased land. I paid $275,000 per acre of land, vacant land, which if you do a comparison on that is $9 a square foot, but that is ridiculously low compared to the services and everything else that are put in. So I took the value of the land, the land being the 6,600 square feet, at 149 plus the $90,000 of services, which is roughly the cost of putting services to a lot in the city of Winnipeg currently. So a total land market value of $269,400 is the land value that I could come up with our limited access to records for land and land sales. I did do some comparisons shopping through RE/MAX and shopping through Shindico and listing places, as I'm not a real estate agent, I don't have that accessibility. And when we compare square footages of property and square footage of taxes, and that was the thing that amused me the most, when I was seeing the tax rate on a square foot building going from $2 a square foot to a high of about $5.60 a square foot in, you know, on McPhillips on there and all the streets that are available. And I look at mine and I'm paying $7.54 according to the tax bill that I have of $7,500 on that piece of property. I find that that's, I'm questioning why I'm paying $7.54 and everybody else that I could find tax bills on was in that, the low of 16,000 square feet at $2 a square foot to, you know, places that in the 3,200 square feet, which is very hard to find, 1,000 square foot or 900 square foot building. And the 3,200 square foot building paying a tax rate of $5.43. Also looking at the building age, the building is built the same year I was, so it's old and wearing out. It needs work, it needs upgrade. It's just straight open on the inside. There's basically a washroom and a sink that was put in 1963. So there's nothing in the building, it's basically empty. So what I had put on there was the value on the building, the land value and the building. I had basically feel that the market value is around $285 to $269. One of the things we will go into is the purchase price of the land. I bought it from a gentleman in 2014. I bought it with a 1967 split window Corvette. I took to the Barrett-Jackson auction in Arizona and sold for $73,000 US. So the purchase price on the land was basically $217,000. But he didn't want to sell it separately, he wanted it all as a land sale, so we did the deal. So that's really the true value of what we paid for the land in 14 was $217,000. Unfortunately, this is the kind of stuff we do all the time, and then we go, yeah, it didn't help me on this end. So, I think the land value between $285 and $269 is the realistic market value of the land. I have had that property listed for over a year. I have had one offer at that was a high offer, and I thought, wow, this is great. It fell through because they couldn't get financing and they couldn't get a phase 2 environmental study done. The last offer I had was $285,000, and I turned it down. Our goal is to, not next year, but maybe the next year, is to add on to the building and then put it up for sale again when the building is more. Right now, nobody wants a 931 square foot building. You just can't lease them. The smaller the building like that, it's with that much parking lot and the tax bill. I mean, the tax bill is more than half of my rental income. I can get $1,200 to $1,300 a month for that because it's so small, and my tax bill is $7,500. And you go triple net on a commercial tax side of it, you're looking at now having to pay more than half your rent costs in taxes, which is a pretty tough pill to swallow. And that's why a lot of us are leaving the city of Winnipeg and moving to Headingley. I just built 26,000 square feet in Headingley. So, I mean, and the reason is this tax bill.
Okay,
I
thank you.
think that's everything I can say. Questions?
Questions?
Just in regards to the land that you're saying that you're using for the $9 a square foot, where's that land located that you purchased?
Right on, just past Logan Avenue, in the industrial park area.
Okay, so it's zoned differently than
It's industrial.
industrial zoning, okay. But just to clarify. And the $90,000 in services, that's an estimate, or that's based on your experience in?
That's my experience.
Okay,
I can give you numbers.
Yeah, no,
I know
that's
what
okay.
sewer and water.
I just wanna know where it's kinda coming from, is all. That's all.
Been
for my
doing it for
questions.
36 years.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
That offer you talked about at 285, when did you receive that offer?
2 months ago.
Okay, so it's a 2019
It's a
offer.
2019 offer.
What did you have it listed at, sir?
I had it listed at 349.
349. So in your mind, the value was 349,000, or somewhat close to that.
The agent was thinking maybe we could get it. We were kind of picking for cherries kind of deal, and if something would come along, maybe it would happen, but it's not happening. We need more square footage on that piece of property to give it any value.
Is the Quonset part of the property?
There's nothing in the back now. What you
Oh.
saw there was just some C-can trailers and stuff that we used to store windows in. And I removed all that. That's all off the property now. There's nothing left there.
So that long white building?
That's a cart building. That was all gone. That's all
Okay.
gone.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
No questions at this time, okay. Have you tried to rent this building again?
Yes, I have had it up for lease. Not yet.
Any bites?
I had one of those campaign guys in there for 4 months, and that was it. It's nothing yet.
Okay, when was that?
Just left in October,
Okay.
so November 1st.
Did you get $1,200 a month?
I got $800 a month.
And how long did you have the property listed?
Oh, over a year. We vacated the property in February of 2018.
And when did you list it?
Before that, January of 2018.
And it's still currently listed?
No, we've taken it off the listing because our plan is to add another 2,700 square feet to the back and update the building, and then put it up for either rent or for list or for sale.
Okay.
Either way, that is our plan.
Okay.
If we can get a building permit.
Sorry, when did you get the offer of $285?
That would have been, man, I have the date at home, I don't have it here, but I think it was around, what do we have, November, August?
Of this year?
Yeah.
And the sale of $287.5, so the car was included in that?
1967 Corvette was included in the sale of the building.
Okay, and then you sold it for $73,000. Did you have a value on it in Canadian dollars?
I can't remember what it was, 94 or something like that is what I ended up. I think I ended up with a check for 86,000 Canadian from Barrett Jackson. I had to pay the fee.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Any
for
other
coming.
questions? That's it?
That's it.
Okay, first time at it. I'll see what happens. Anybody has 305,000 and wants a good building on Portage Avenue, take the check today. It'll save me the work.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
No worries.
One more to go. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Drive safe. Okay, so file number 19-2081, roll number 13050108000, 610 Ellis Avenue. The roll year under appeal 2020 with an April 1st, 2018 reference date. $283,000 is the assessed value. We have class code 60 and taxable. One building and two premises for this property. Actual year built 1948. The land area 3,000 square feet, and the plan area 1893. Gross floor area 2,468 square feet, and we have leasable area 2,410 square feet. Page 6.
Sorry, I'm just gonna stop you there. Did you have any contact with the appellant?
I did not have any contact with this appellant.
Okay.
Yeah. I have no recommendation on this property, that's what you're asking.
Okay. Yes, and so, sorry, I'm just trying to stop you from going through the whole brief. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, and I'm not sure how we would normally proceed without the applicant here.
Oh, okay. So you've got the value at 283,000?
Correct. Yeah, that's the model value.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank
Leave
you
that
so
with
much.
us. Thank you. And this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.